Hi friends, I am Umesh. Today I am going to talk about the five writers of Chaucer's age. Before talking about the five writers of the Chaucer age, I briefly discuss about the age of Chaucer, which is also known as Age of Middle English. It is called as Age of Chaucer because Chaucer is the real starting point of the age. And Hudson, in his History of English Literature, is of the opinion that Chaucer is the first of our really national poets. And Dryden, who is the famous poet, is of the opinion that Chaucer is the father of English poetry. And this is the opening moment of English literature. And that is why it is called as Chaucer's age. Chaucer's age is between 1350 to 1400. Now, the history of the Chaucer's period. Two great moments may be noted in the complex life of England during the 14th century. The first is political and culminates in the reign of Edward III, and it shows the growth of the English national spirit following the victories of Edward and the Black Prince on French soil during the Hundred Years. And the French language lost its official prestige, and English became the speech not only of the common people but of the courts and parliament as well. All this has happened during the reign of Edward III, and this is the first moment of Chaucer's age. Now, the second moment is social. It falls largely within the reign of Edward's successor, Richard II, and makes the growing discontent with the contrast between luxury and poverty. Sometimes this moment is quite and strong, and this is the second moment of history of Chaucer's period. And these two moments are very important for the background of the Chaucer's age. Now, the five writers of Chaucer's age. William Langland, voicing the social discontent, preaching the equality of men and the dignity of labor. John Wycliffe, second writer, the greatest of English religious reformers, giving the gospel to the people in their own tongue, and the freedom of the gospel is unnumbered tracts and addresses. He translated Bibles. And Gower, the third poet, the scholar and the literary man, criticizing this vigorous life and plainly afraid of its consequences. Mandeville, the fourth writer of five writers, the traveler, romancing about the wonders to be seen abroad. Above all, there is a Chaucer, who is the important poet. He is a scholar, traveler, businessman, courtier, sharing in all the stringing of life times and reflecting it in his literature as no other than but Shakespeare has ever done. And Chaucer is the very important poet among the five writers. And here you can see the pictures of the writers. Now, Geoffrey Chaucer. The life of Chaucer is divided into three periods. The first, of 30 years, includes his youth and early manhood, in which time he was influenced almost exclusively French literary models. And the second period, of another 15 years, covers Chaucer's active life as a diplomat and a man of affairs, and in this Italian influence seems the stronger than the French. And the third is the English period of another 15 years. Generally, it is known as English period, and it is the time of Chaucer's richest literary development. And we can study the Chaucer's life into three periods. First is French literary period, and second is Italian literary period, and the third is English period. The life in the first period, Chaucer's life in the first period, he spent his boyhood in London on Thomas Street. He married Philippa wrote, the sister to the wife of John of Gaunt, the famous Duke of Lancaster. And now the literary works in the period. And he had written some four important works in French: Roman de la Rose and Death of Blanche of Duchess, Complaint to Pite, and the ABC. Roman de la Rose is the translation from the French Roman de la Rose, the most popular poem in the Middle Ages. And it was believed that this book, Blanche of Duchess, was written after the death of Blanche, who is the wife of Chaucer's patron, Jeanne of Gaunt. And the second period, the life in the second period, another 15 years, he spent his official visit to Italy. Here we can see the development, English literary prowess, and prominence of Italian literary influences. And the works during the second periods means the works are written in Latin. Troilus and Cressida, House of Fame, Legend of Good Woman, and these are the two major works written in the second period. The poem Troilus and Cressida contains 8,000 lines. Now, the third, the life of a Chaucer in the third period. In 1386, Chaucer was elected Member of Parliament from Kent, and he died in 1400, and he was buried with the honor of Westminster Abbey. And this is the most important thing you should have to remember. He was buried in with honor in Westminster Abbey. The major literary work in the third period is Canterbury Tales. I made a video on Canterbury Tales. You can go through that video to know more about Canterbury Tales. And this is the most important work of Geoffrey Chaucer. Now the second writer, William Lang. He is also one of the major writers of Chaucer's age, and he had written a work called Piers of Ploughmen. It is an alliterative poem. It first appeared in the year 1362, and it is a poem of 1800 lines. The poem is divided into two distinct parts. The first contains the vision of Piers, and the second a series of visions called the Search of Dobet and Dobset. Do well, better, and best. Series of visions: do well, do bet, do best. Do well, better, best. Now, John Wycliffe. His great work, which is earned him his title, the father of English prose. It is the translation of Bible. Wycliffe himself translated Gospels and much more of the New Testament. The translation of Bible was slowly copied all over the England, and it was very popular throughout the England. About 1356, there appeared in English an extraordinary book called A Voyage and Travel of Sir John Mandeville, and which is written by John Mandeville, and who is also one of the famous writers of Chaucer's age, and he had written this book, Voyage and Travel of Sir John Mandeville. Now, John Gower, he wrote in three languages, French, Latin, and English. His main work is Confessio Amentis. It is a famous work of John Gower, a long poem containing 112 lines. So, John Gower had written a book called Confessio Amentis. So, today in this video, I gave a brief pictures of five great writers of Chaucer's age, and I hope you got an idea of Chaucer's age. Thank you. For more videos, subscribe the channel. I am Umesh. Completed my MA English from Central Institute of Karnataka. Thank you.